and welcome to The Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the hearts. I'm your host, Israel. I'm my guest today, the duo in the podcast hosts of The Birds and the Bee, partners, Chelsea and Matt. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yo, how do you guys meet? I think I've heard different, like a little bit from Notori, but I'm curious, like with the two of you together, how do you meet?
It was an app, a popular app known for hooking up. It was, like a 3 a.m, horny swiping session. And I saw his pictures, and then he had a picture of him in like a David Bowie costume. And so I swiped. Yeah.
Naturally.
Everyone
has a David Bowie costume that they
as,
put up on
as
the
one does, you know.
I just look a little better in mine. So,
So, so I know that Matt was always non-monogamous. Like, was the transition for you, Chelsea, quick, slow? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so he had that he was ethically non-monogamous in his profile, and at that point, that was something the thought had been put into my head. So after when we met, I told him I don't have any experience in this, and so I kind of let him know I might need to go slow in some aspects, and like I said before, I had a lot of inner work to do. So it's been an ever evolving process. I think we're in a different place now than we were in the beginning, and we will be in a different place in a year from now. So it's patience, communication, all that good stuff.
More patience and more communication. And then a little bit more patience again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it, I guess, like a deal breaker for you, not in this relationship, but just Matt? Like, okay, you need to know this is who I am and what I'm into. Like, you had to put it out there. Like, what was important for you to put that out there?
Oh gosh. Yes. So I became like the dude on that app who's like, oh, I'm ethically non-monogamous, like watch out world. And it was difficult because I would get a lot of people who match with me, and I'd have to be like, did you read that line in my profile that says I'm ethically non-monogamous and I'm bisexual? And you're like, oh my God, you're gross. And then just like unmatch me. So and there were points where like I met up with someone once who acknowledged, like, I have like my Robin costume, Robin, the Swedish pop star, right? Robin costume. And then I have my David Bowie costume. And then I said this other thing about what I do for work. And they acknowledged the photos, and they acknowledged what I do for a career. And like in between there was like in big bold letters, like, I'm also ethically non-monogamous. And they skipped over that, or we got to the date and like, I don't remember reading that. And then it was just like a disaster of a date. That's not what I'm into. So it sucks because there's more to my personality besides the non-monogamy thing and my sexuality, but I have to put it out there so that people know what they're getting into. And in this case, this is something that Chelsea was looking for a while. So.
And like, I know on your end, Chelsea, like you saw that and it didn't keep you away, it actually pulled you in.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a thought that I had in my head, and I identify as pansexual, and I had always had this concern that, okay, well, if I end up with a man, that means I can never be with women again. Like, have you seen women? And then if I'm with a woman, then I could never be with a man again. And especially, but at the beginning I was, bisexual, and now I say pansexual. But even with lesbians, there's this like, you're kind of othered as, oh, you're a woman who dates men or who is attracted to men as well. Like, I don't want you.
Gay men do the same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, you're just in the process of coming out. I don't want to deal with that. Like, you're actually gay. You're gay, but you're not comfortable enough to say it. So you make up this thing called bisexuality, whatever that is.
And then for women, it's like, oh,
in New York,
you're just performing, like, pick one. It's like, no, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's also good because they self-select, right? Like when someone says that you know that person isn't for you, and I guess doing that and putting that out there led you to each other. So like the relationship just like picked up right away, and how did you go from like did you start seeing people seeing other people right away?
No, no, I mean, our relationship moved fairly quickly. Yeah, we started spending a lot of time together, and we would play with other people, but I mean, still, I don't think either of us have really dated anyone else. We're just not that I wouldn't mind if you wanted to date someone else, and
I wouldn't mind if you wanted to date someone.
so
Yeah.
it's an option. Yeah, it just hasn't. Again, like we're very busy with our, the content lives, and we each have our own, other things that we do. So just in terms of like time and emotional energy, it's just not something that we've explored, but not opposed to.
I
So
mean, it's akin to saying like, "Oh, I'm bisexual, but I'm just happen to date someone right now monogamously that is of the opposite gender of me." It doesn't mean that I'm not bisexual. It's same thing with being polyamorous. You can be completely single and also identify as polyamorous, but because you're not part of a polycule or you don't live with 15 people that are all having sex with each other and are all in relationships and sharing children, that doesn't mean you're not polyamorous though. It just
right,
Yeah.
means that's what you're at that point in your life, and that can be
Yeah,
okay
you are
too.
that thing. Even if you're not doing what the shining banner idea of what that thing is.
right.
Um, and then you have your relationship. You have each other. You're doing your thing, playing with other people when it comes to. I love how that transition happened to content. Like, but creating content, but just between the two of you, like, what was that conversation like? I'm curious.
I think it was a little bit of because I had a guy who had bought my underwear, and then so that kind of and then asked if I had anything online, and simultaneously while that had kind of sparked a thought in my head, we were also on poly apps, and sending flirty pictures and videos to these other couples, and it was kind of like a good, I feel like, melding of, okay, well, someone has asked if I have this online content. We're already making videos and things for free. So what if we just kind of took it to the next, it felt like a natural next step.
Yeah, and not everyone comes from that kind of end of content making either. A lot of people go into porn being like, this is what I want to do. I just want to be a porn star. And we learn very quickly that not everyone who's in porn comes from the angle of like having opened up their relationship. They're polyamorous or non monogamous. A lot of people just come at it from different angles. So, this is the door that we went through into content making.
Right, right, right. And I think the root of it all is that you two have each other, and as you mentioned earlier, communication and patience. Talking about communication and patience, like what are some of the tools you two have as a couple when it comes to communicating?
Yeah, what tools do we have?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have tools.
I mean, yeah, it's evolved over time, but I think just remembering to come at things with from a compassionate sort of perspective. We've definitely gotten a lot better about, here's an issue or concern that I have. Let's talk about it. If either of us needs, like, if I'm really angry or like intense about something, just kind of like being like, I need to take a step back, and maybe we shouldn't talk about this right now because I'm feeling really emotional or something. So, um, yeah. And then there's just constant communication in terms of like when we're making content, like, because we have to be talking about, because he's more of like the schedule and helps with coordinating and things like that. So, we communicate about a lot of different things, and we kind of have to switch between things a lot.
Yeah, we're working toward taking more time just for ourselves. So that's a goal, is that last year we weren't doing that. It was not a healthy balance. We were just like constantly going, making things and never stopping, and didn't really take the time out just to have like a personal moment for us. So
Yeah.
now that we're like going through this transition of uh, you know, a better pattern for our careers and also content making. We're working in just personal time for just us. So that's the big goal. But with communication, I think, you know, hearing how Chelsea interacts with other people as well, I paid close attention to that, not just with making content, but also like personal relationships. And on the podcast too, and then I'm editing it. I'm looking for new ways to communicate with Chelsea that are healthy and productive at the same time. So content can also be sort of a mirror that people hold up to get a reflection of who they are as communicators within their own relationships. So I think that can be a useful tool.
Yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned the podcast because I kind of thought of that question when I was watching an episode. I can't remember the title, but actually two episodes come to mind. But there was one, it was just kind of two of you kind of just, ping pong. But then there was one with like, I think either a therapist or someone, I can't remember the name. And it's like, like you two had this fluid adaptive relationship with each other. Okay, and I was wondering, fuck, how did they achieve that? Because like is it just like trial and error? But hearing this is really really helpful to understand that you guys are not just some magical people, you're human too.
Oh, we are not magical.
No, not magical. No,
Not that I know of.
yeah. No, it's been a lot. Yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error. We have fights, and I feel like now we're kind of at a point where we want to be better about how we communicate. Coming at things from more of like an empathetic lens, and yeah,
I think a lot of that was learned while you were overseas, you were traveling, you had to make your own content. I didn't have you by my side while I was trying to schedule things. So like it was a very well needed moment, 4 months to help us like reevaluate how to go forward in communicating. I was arrogant enough in the beginning of our relationship to be like, well, this is my fourth relationship in a row where I've been non-monogamous and I had to introduce non-monogamy to my romantic partner. And it's exhausting each time. Like each time at the end of every relationship, you're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never dating someone who's new to non-monogamy again. They already have to know what polyamory is. They have to have already read the books. I'm not going to introduce something new to anyone ever again.
Tell us how you really feel.
On Tinder. She's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Okay, one more time. One more relationship where I have to reintroduce everything, this new person all over again, and just risk the heartbreak involved in all that. It's a lot of work, and trying to, like Chelsea can definitely attest. I don't have to talk for her, but like being introduced to all that stuff is very vulnerable in the beginning. So I thought like, oh, because I've gone through it so many times, I got this down. No, everyone's different. Everyone has a unique set of insecurities and way of communicating that, you can take things from other moments and relationships and the books that you read, and it's just a blueprint. Like you don't know until you're actually in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of have an idea in your head versus actually experiencing it, and it's like, holy shit. So one thing, that when I meet couples that are non-monogamous, I'm like, okay, is there still any jealousy at all? And if there is, how do you handle it?
We talk about it.
Yeah, we talk about things. I don't really like. I kind of am at a point where, like the other day, we were working with another couple, and Matt was saying like nerdy technical things, and she was like, "Oh, that's hot. I like when you say that." And to me, I was like, "Oh, I like that you like that. Like, I like that you think that what he's talking about is hot. Like, that makes me feel good." So I was like, "I like that." So I mean, again, we haven't been as much in our personal lives, been going out, and so we haven't super encountered.
Yeah, I mean,
like
for
that.
me, when someone talks to me in those types of situations, I'm always caught off guard because I'm always like, Chelsea, 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 like trying to image curate for her. And then when someone's like talking to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like the television talking back to you. I don't know what to do with that sometimes. So, I mean, we haven't done a lot of dating as a couple lately, but I think, not every day is a perfect day when I'm shooting content with Chelsea, but I'll tell her like what made me feel icky afterwards. And there has been some moments, and it hasn't been her necessarily. It's just been like me questioning the intentionality of a couple or a guy that she's worked with, or maybe a woman that she's worked with, where me trying to communicate logistics with her was maybe strange or off-putting in some way. So it's always like me trying to figure out what the intentions are of other people that create maybe a little bit of a low-lying jealousy. But those are
Mm.
problems in communication that can be addressed. But I mean, I know that Chelsea's on my side. She's, on my team with those things. So it's never really something that she's done. It's just when other people are in the mix, I don't know them as well. And, maybe I think that they're kind of bullshitting or lying or, something else just to get to do something with Chelsea that, kind of excludes me. It
And that
makes,
doesn't make me feel good
yeah,
either. I don't like if someone's done something to make Matt feel bad, that makes me not want to work with them anymore. So I feel like
Mm.
now we'll have like a little debrief session after, we work with another person or a couple. And if someone made you feel icky or something, it's like, okay, maybe that was them, but is there anything that I can do to prevent that situation happening in the future? And so
Mm.
kind of communicating and evolving in that
yeah, we
sense.
break things down more often now, and trust each other that we know that our intentions are good, but what about the situation made us not feel whole? So kind of
Yeah.
approaching it like that.
Mm. So, I mean, and obviously the person has to, I guess, go with what you said. It was great. We're not going to do this again, whatever. But like, have you ever felt, oh, this is, or, a person or a couple gone through your vetting process and then you met and, kind of even before the scene, you feel like nothing is going right? Or like, have you ever had a situation like that where you just felt in your gut, this isn't something you want to do?
With making content, meeting up with
Yeah.
someone and then regretting, has there been a situation like that?
I mean, I don't think that it's been anything that's particularly like relevant to both you and I in a relationship, but I've had certain situations where like I like Matt to come with me to shoots, like, and it just as a safety level, like for as a safety factor. So if someone says, "Oh, he can't come," to me, that's a red flag. Like, "Oh, I prefer you to come alone." Like, no, I will not be.
Right.
No, so I've
Right.
canceled things based on that
Even
alone.
dropping her off. It's like no men allowed anywhere near this space. I'm like, I'm just dropping her off. No, no, she has to come by herself. I'm like, nah.
To me, immediate red flag, shut that down. Um, yeah.
In that situation, I'm curious, are there other like red flags that you look for?
Yeah, it's or if someone like I was supposed to have, some shoots over this weekend and we had set it up and I like blocked my schedule and then he calls and says, "Oh, I wasn't able to get like talent tested, but I have my results on this piece of paper." And I was like, "Well, they didn't email you anything? Like I need to see you have like that you've logged in or something." He's like, "Well, they made me go pick it up in person." I'm like, "It's 2024 and they made you go pick up your results on this piece of paper." And that's like, no. So that was a red flag.
No real time payment
Yeah,
method.
for professional shoots, some places give deposits, some don't. I had a kind of a weird feeling, so I asked, "Can you please send a deposit because I'm making this time for you in my schedule?" And then it was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna have to be paying by check." And I'm like, again, like, are we in 1993? Like,
Check.
Who do I make this out to?
yeah. And I'm like, that's not. So you could have faked
Who?
your test
Check.
results, only paying by check. I'm like, there are so many methods of
Yeah.
electronic payment.
I suggested a money order or cashier's check or something. I'm like, let's just see what he says. If he can like make a bank check happen, and he just
Right.
completely ignored the fact that like,
Right.
no, there's no form of payment that's okay with you that isn't real time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just gave him a list. I was like, this is what I need in order to move forward. And he was like, "Okay,
Right.
I understand you being uncomfortable." And that was it. And I was like, "Yep, glad I canceled that." So
Yeah. Yeah.
No money
Yeah.
order.
I mean, like, content creators, like, do you have to partition, like, this is our thing, this is us creating content, or it's all like a mix?
I think it depends. Will people kind of know, I think, when I'm shooting something as opposed to other content creators. There are other content creators that Chelsea has worked with that famously just shoot everything themselves. So when you're watching this couple on their channel and Chelsea's on it, you know that they were in control of the whole production. But, I think a lot of our best-selling content is stuff that I've shot, especially on many vids. So the top content is usually something that I had some kind of hand in, but you don't always know that I'm behind the camera. Like, I don't always announce it, like, oh, this is my sexy girlfriend. And sometimes I just like let something play out without my like direct voice in it, but people kind
Mm,
of know that
Or if
I
other,
shot.
other people have like a crew or a certain camera person that they prefer to work with, like I just try to make things as easy as possible for everyone. So that's like, okay. But I also, I'm like, usually want Matt, like, are you comfortable with Matt being there? And usually it's not a problem.
I mean,
Yeah,
it shouldn't be
It
like he's
shouldn't
not.
be
Yeah.
like
Um, with the many websites and many social media channels and stuff, like, do you find that you need to be on everything, or do you just prioritize? Okay, this is kind of what we're going to focus on.
we should be on everything, but like TikTok is like I can't do the TikTok. And it's just and it's a Reddit is more of Matt's.
right. So I put some podcast clips on TikTok as like sort of advocate kind of work, but I can't put everything on TikTok because even if we're talking about sex work and I censor it, you're still talking about sex work on TikTok. So I do put podcast clips on there, and Reddit has the best return on investment. So
Oh.
anyone that's new has to get fluent with how to use Reddit because Twitter is fine, but Twitter is more of just a message board. You don't get new fans from Twitter. You just get announcements. Reddit is where you can mine for new fans pretty easily.
Instagram is more difficult because they censor heavily. They'll I know people have gotten their accounts deleted 6, 7 times. So it's
Wow.
kind of a yeah, if
You
they
yeah, you have to know what you want to use Instagram for, I believe. So if you want to become a popular person that you can find easily through Instagram, you have to know exactly what you want to do with it from the get-go. There are people who do sketches, people who do podcasts, there are people who do like stupid interviews or stunts or just like crazy things to get clicks, but just know what you're going to use it for before you set it up. Even if it's just people are very popular just doing selfies, just doing morning coffee routine thing, like just getting to know you kind of thing. Just like know exactly what you're going to use Instagram for before you do it.
Mm. Mm, okay. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, as a couple, you obviously like have things you do together and things you do for yourselves. But like, are there things you do because you have to work, do all these things, but are there things you do together to like chill, relax, or to like, get the edge of together?
yeah. I mean, like in the mornings, like we watch like the late night stuff. Well, in the mornings Matt's making breakfast and we're watching like late night or the news.
We got stoned and watched Conan O'Brien last night.
We did. Yeah.
Little things like that.
It's the little
Yeah.
things. Yeah, we both love to cook. Um, yeah.
Okay,
Things.
and I thought I was gonna end with this, right? Because something, people always like look at like couples like yourself as aspirational, and over the course of like a couple of minutes that we've talked now, you've shared, communication, patience. You have to work at it, and you have to find time for each other and things like that. So there's a lot of work involved, right? But there's also the other side where like what makes it worth it for you to like individual, like, so for Matt, what makes all the work you put into making this relationship work for you? And then for you, Chelsea, same question.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's great. Like, I've never worked so closely, like, with a partner, and like, I mean, we spend so much time together. And so it's kind of nice to know that that's possible, that we can talk about new scene ideas, talk about, he'll edit the podcast, I watch it. And I feel like it's just fun seeing us, like, our content, the quality grow over time because of things that we've both been doing, because these are a lot of things that we both care about. Um, yeah, and just getting to spend so much time with my BFF.
Aw,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you?
Rephrase the question.
What makes it worth it?
What,
All the
whoa,
work.
what makes it all worth it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think working, like, my mind is working in so many different ways, both like on a romantic level, exploring my own sexuality through the content that we make, but also like our relationship and having it be like purposeful. And we're doing this purposefully, right? People can be monogamous, but I think people should be monogamous purposefully, not by default or by assumption. And we're
Mm.
creating an intentional relationship that works for the both of us. So that kind of constant communicating and learning new things about ourselves is exciting, and it's a growth exercise, and it keeps my mind working because I know I can get like sometimes lazy and implicit in some bad behavior. And sometimes it's just like that bad behavior is not fully thinking about my partner at the time. I have very tunnel vision, like I'm on a task, I kind of ignore other things, and it can be a bad thing. So there's things that we do that keep me in check and help me to stay growing, and vice versa with Chelsea. So
Uh,
I am just, it's just constantly making my mind work, and it's worth it, and I love her and all the wonderful things.
Shame.
Yeah, we get to go on all kinds of adventures, both
Yes.
the slutty and the vanilla. So
Yes.
yeah.
Agreed.
Holy shit, that's so cool. Chelsea and Matt, thank you so much for coming to the sanctuary today and for
Yeah.
sharing. And I can't wait for the next episode of The Birds and the Bee.
Yeah. Thank you.
you,
Thank
Israel.
you. We got some good
Yes.
stuff coming up. So, and thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.